Since the dawn of time, humans have always valued storytelling as a crucial part of any culture. The ancient Greeks were a great example of this. Storytellers like Euripides and Sophocles extensively used the element of fate in their stories, shaping epic tales and becoming the foundation of many forms of media and entertainment today. However, that begs the question, what really is fate? If you look it up on the dictionary, fate is described as the will or principle or determining cause by which things in general are believed to come to be as they are, or events to happen as they do. Or basically, the determining force or mysterious power that's beyond human comprehension, and it's believed to determine events. Many stories, from the ancient Greeks to modern day, use fate as a central theme, and today we'll be exploring two of those: an ancient tale from the Greek times called Oedipus, and a modern day video game called Omori. Omori, designed by video game studio Omori, is a video game in which you find yourself as Sunny, a hikikomori or a shut-in, who escapes from some yet-to-be-known traumas by delving into some made-up worlds in his head known as Headspace and Whitespace, in which he goes on adventures with his friends. Sunny dives into these worlds as an escape mechanism to try to forget himself, only to keep seeing a mysterious creature known as something that forces him closer to a dark truth that he doesn't want to remember. I'm sure there's no need to describe the plot of Oedipus. However, in regards to escaping, Oedipus has escaped for so long due to his ignorance, but when he learns the truth, he actually blinds himself to finally quote unquote escape. This is akin to the bad ending in Omori when Sunny uh, does something not good to himself. Both Oedipus and Sunny go through terrible events that are intertwined with fate. However, there's a crucial difference. Oedipus's downfall came from an uncontrollable fate destined by the gods. However, Sunny's downfall came from a fate that he determined himself, which you'll find out later. This reveals a shift in the way that we think of fate as compared to the way the ancient Greeks did. Oedipus doesn't actually know of his fate or have any intention to escape at first. However, when he learns of his fate from a fortune teller, his escape mechanism is to run away from Corn, so there's no physical possibility of him being able to kill who he thinks are his parents. Also, another way he's been escaping this entire time is by being ignorant to the truth, which he unintentionally has been doing. Sunny escapes in a different way. Psychologically, he escapes into his head in places called Whitespace and Headspace. Whitespace is basically the beginning of a dream, and Headspace is the dream, where he acts out having fun and going on adventures with his friends. And Omori, his basically created alter ego, is the guardian of the world. Omori serves as a defense mechanism Sunny has set up to prevent himself from finding out about the truth, which is too traumatic for him. Sunny and Oedipus both use different means to escape from the truth. However, this is where fate changes from the ancient Greek interpretation to a more modern thought that Omori offers. Fate inevitably catches up to Oedipus because it's an external force determined by the god, Apollo. It's destined to happen no matter what, and Oedipus can't do anything about it. On the other hand, fate catches up to Sunny because he brought his tragedy upon himself by killing Mari, his sister. One can't run from their own mind, and the fate that catches up to Sunny is the inevitable guilt and consequences of his own actions. Through this, Omori redefines what fate really is. In ancient Greek times, fate was thought of as an uncontrollable force determined by the gods. However, in the modern world, fate isn't something destined to happen to you. It's something that you've already done but haven't recognized. It's basically the consequences of your actions. The moment of realization for Oedipus, when he actually finds out the truth, is harrowing to say the least. After realizing he was blind to the true situation the entire time, about himself, his parents, and what he did to them, Oedipus blinds himself by gouging out his eyes. He does this to finally be able to escape for good and to be able to see for the first time. Depending on which ending you get in the game, Sunny's moment of realization can be equally as harrowing, or it could be a saving grace to himself. Or there's even an ending where there is no moment of realization. Sunny continues to live on in denial forever. However, in the good ending, where Sunny realizes and he decides to seek forgiveness and accept blame, he is forced to look at something, the creature, a creation of his own mind, and he sees this famous quote, "An eye meets yours. You shouldn't have looked back." However, because Sunny's fate was created by himself, it's an internal force, and as determined by the modern interpretation of fate that Omori provides, Sunny has a choice about that. He can do something. He can change his own fate. Sophocles wrote Oedipus the King as a traditional ancient Greek tragedy. Oedipus is victim to a terrible fate, one that is fixed by the god Apollo and cannot be changed no matter how hard he tries. He runs from the truth, whether that be via ignorance or physically running away from Corinth. However, the inevitable truth, his fate, follows him all along, eventually catches up to him, and destroys him. Sunny also attempts to run away from the truth. He delves into his own head, escaping into white space and headspace, and constructs an alter ego, Omori, to protect him from the truth, knowing that it will destroy him. However, Sunny's story is a modern twist to the ancient Greek tragedies. His story is one in which fate is something that is created by his own actions, unlike that of Oedipus, and therefore is malleable. His actions determine his fate, a stark contrast to the thinking of the ancient Greeks. Because fate in this regard is a consequence of one's actions, Sunny has the ability to change his own fate by owning up to his actions and accepting punishment, accepting blame, and seeking forgiveness. Like all ancient Greek tragedies, Oedipus, the king, views fate as an unconquerable, inevitable force determined by the gods. Fate is an unscalable wall, no matter how hard one tries to climb it. Oedipus is a victim to this view. His fate was set in stone by Apollo before he was even born. In the world of Oedipus, he's a pawn. However, Omori challenges that view, the view of the ancient Greeks. In Omori's world, fate isn't a divine force, but instead a self-inflicted consequence. Sunny's situation isn't from a god, but instead a psychological wall that he built around himself to protect him from the consequences of his own actions, killing Mari. Sunny fenced himself off from a dark truth, continuously denying his own trauma. This shift in interpretation means everything. If fate really is the result of our own actions, that means that new actions can forge a new path, a new fate. We can change fate. The bad ending of Omori is akin to the path of Oedipus in the ancient Greeks. Sunny succumbs to the guilt, keeping his eyes closed, letting his dream world live on, and letting Omori consume him, living his life. However, the good ending is the ending of a modern-day interpretation of fate. Sunny couldn't change what he did in the past, like breaking his violin and pushing Mari down the stairs. However, he could choose to do something about the consequences. He could choose to step out of his dream world and apologize to Basil and the rest of his friends. He could choose to accept the truth, changing his fate. What Omori ultimately teaches is that we are not pawns like the ancient Greeks suggested. We don't have to blind ourselves to the truth in order to survive and escape from an inevitable fate. We have the power to change our own fates. It is true, yes, that the truth will always catch up to us, but when it does, we have the power to choose how we respond. We have the choice to change our own fates for the better. All you have to do is open your eyes and accept the truth for all it is. Thanks for watching this. You have no idea how much work this was because I don't know how to edit, so this took forever. Hope you enjoyed it.